without further ado, I'd like to introduce our presenters for today. We'll first have the privilege of hearing from Jonathan Shih, Director of ADM Partnerships and Alliances at Micro Focus, as he reviews some of the unique strengths of the Micro Focus portfolio within the ADM space, after which we'll have a demonstration from ResultsPositive Vice President of Products, Mr. Russ King, as he walks us through some of the Agile functionality and integrations between Micro Focus ALM and PPM products. And with that, we'll turn the time over to Jonathan. John, are you there?
By introduction, this is Jonathan Shih, and my role with the Micro Focus is I am Director of Partnership and Alliance with the ADM BU, Application Delivery Management, and he's very happy to be here with our esteemed partner, ResultsPositive. So as a lead-in to the presentation today, I'd like to say a few words about the combined company of what was Heritage Micro Focus and Hewlett-Packard Enterprise Software. So by combining the two companies, now we are the 7th largest pure play software company out there, and the portfolio that we have is very synergistic with each other, as we will see in the next slide. And we have very little overlap in our install base. So there's plenty of opportunity for us to cross-sell and reach out to the much bigger install base that we have today. So next slide, please. So this slide gives us a very good overview of our ADM BU and what are we doing here and in the new company and which area we are focusing on. So as you can see, you can look at all of the area that we are involved in with our new portfolio. And this is the slide our GM, Rafi Margalot, presented at the sales kickoff, right? So at the center of everything we do is ALM Octane, right? And that is, so many folks have asked, what's the differentiation between the name ADM and now a lot of time we are referred to as DevOps. So ADM is still the BU name and DevOps is the suite name. And so if you look at this overview picture, you will see this is our DevOps-centric POV, right? And involved in here are the area that we will have investment in, right? And beyond the traditional testing and beyond the traditional planning, which is part of the PPM portfolio, we also are getting new assets and new solutions that allow us to do much more, right? In the realm of continuous testing, continuous deployment, and continuous integration. So this is just a very, very high-level overview. And if you're interested, please let us know. Let Russ or myself know, and we can provide a even more detailed view, a breakdown of all these areas. But today, we are focusing on the hand-holding between PPM and ALM Octane. Next slide, please. So the question is this. I'm sure all of you in the audience today have been initiated in the ALM Octane message, right? It's the new generation of our ALM product, and it's a specific design for enterprise that we know great majority of the customer out there, over 80% of them, do some sort of Agile plus waterfall. Okay, and very, very few companies can claim that they are on either extreme. On one extreme, you have the likes of Amazon, you have like of Google and LinkedIn and so on, that at the forefront of pushing their code. Even someone like that, and I had a recent conversation with some of the customer. LinkedIn is one of them, and not all their processes are really 100% Agile yet, right? So it's always you're going to come across customers that have a combination of both. And so that is what ALM Octane is specific design for. Now, moving on to PPM. PPM is a venerable and still a extremely successful solution in our portfolio. And the question is, well, what is the role of PPM in this new age of Agile enterprise? Right? And that hence here is a very simple overview of what PPM can do for you. Right? ALM Octane operates at the dev level, the Scrum team level, the production level. So each ALM instance would likely managing only one application development lifecycle, or one at most a few that's related with each other. It's a very product line centric or business centric. Whereas PPM, the messaging here is that with the right use case, you can propagate all the different assets across the board, whether it's ALM Octane or if the customer is using Jira. And we'll be sure, we 100% understand that a great majority of the customer out there also have some level of Jira implementation, right? It's how their dev team like to operate. So what we are doing here is not to go against that trend, but embrace that trend. That PPM and ALM Octane combination is designed to be more than what Jira can do at the individual Scrum team level, right? And so if the ALM can propagate all of the Scrum data up to a production, a product lifecycle point of view, then PPM can accumulate all those different businesses up to a CXO point of view. We're talking about CFO and CEO, where they can compare and contrast the efficiency of the different production line that they have in their business. So next. So, lastly, this is just to reinforce the point that we just came across, right? So at PPM, we see it as the dashboard, the business dashboard, executive reporting dashboard on top, where, below that, you will have the ALM Octane. The ALM still has a huge install base. If you look across the Fortune 1000, 97-98% of them have some sort of QC ALM implementation. And so we want those customers to continue to leverage the strength of ALM. We also understand that they have Jira implementation. Some of them have Rally, ECA Rally implementation, and version 1. And some of them have all of them. Some customers would have a spectrum of different Agile tools, lifecycle management tools. And what we are trying to position PPM is that we are agnostic to the customer who are using different type of tools. We will help them throughout all these data and help them propagate them up to the executive reporting dashboard, right? And so in this sense, as you can see, PPM will become very strategic to a conversation that you would have with your customer. Even though they might not be a PPM customer today, or vice versa, they are a PPM customer and not an ALM customer today, this will be a great lead-in to help them understand the future direction that ADM and Micro Focus is going. So at this junction, I will pass the remaining of the PPM-centric presentation to Russ.
Good morning. Thanks, Jonathan. My name is Russ King from ResultsPositive, and I will walk you through today the details of the PPM and ALM Octane integration to the point where we'll actually do a demo and show you how it works within the solution setup. So I wanted to start by just doing an overview of the level of the integrations here and try to put our arms around where the capabilities exist. And this enterprise agile push has been part of the PPM agenda in release 9.4.0 and 9.4.1, and then again in 9.4.2 of PPM, where the focus on enterprise agile and the strategic portfolio management has come into play. So there's really 4 key areas that we'll touch on that are integration points between ALM and PPM. The first being at the enterprise portfolio level, where you're able now to define epics within the portfolio that map to epics within ALM Octane or any of the other enterprise agile solutions, and then be able to get visibility of the progress of those epics, even if they're being executed in multiple ALM Octane projects or multiple, Jira and ALM together. If they're being executed across multiple Jira or multiple agile solutions, you're still able to get the roll up of the status of those features and epics and user stories into PPM against your portfolio. So that's one of the areas we'll cover. We'll also cover the detailed capabilities of being able to link a PPM project to an ALM Octane project and the associated releases and sprints, so you can get detailed user story and task level visibility of what's happening within ALM Octane within PPM. And then finally, we'll do some focus on the time management, where we'll look at logging time or capturing time spent in ALM Octane and how that rolls back into the project in PPM, so you can capture the time for the associated work that's being done, and the users within ALM Octane only have to enter their time spent in one place and one time, and then you can roll that back up. And then there's a set of portlets also that we'll cover off associated with bringing other sets of the ALM data into PPM for visibility. So primarily, we're going to cover configuring of the integration. As I mentioned, integrating the PPM task with Agile project, the timesheets, the portfolio epics, and then synchronizing that Agile data into the Agile project portlets. And so I'll do a quick walkthrough of the capabilities via slide, and then we'll actually get in and do a demo of the solution. So as far as setting up the integration, Micro Focus has done a really good job of making this really simple. You'll notice here that these icons cover timesheet, work plan, portfolio epics, and Agile data is what those graphics stand for. So by setting up this single instance of Octane, we're able to get those 4 integration points with a single instance setup. And this is the full setup. You identify your Octane instance name, you give it the URL, and you give it a login. And that's all it needs to know to basically build and set up the integration. And I'll show you that within the demo as well. Now, when it comes to PPM tasks with Agile projects, what you do is on a particular task within a work plan, you can map the Agile project and at any level that you want, and then it will synchronize. And in this case, you can see it synchronizing. I actually mapped this one at the development level in a standard, more waterfall SDLC type solution. And I mapped this at the development level, and then you can see the sprint coming in and the user stories coming in as well from the solution. So I'll walk through this as I go through the demo as to how we do the mapping as well. And then we'll cover PPM timesheets and how we can go capture data from the timesheets that are logged within ALM Octane and bring them into the PPM solution. And then we will cover the setup of portfolio epics. And one thing I want to cover here is this is really the enterprise portfolio, and the portfolio epics is really going after those organizations that are using the scaled agile framework and elevating that to the portfolio level where we can define epics in the enterprise and then be able to see the progress of those epics through the agile development lifecycle and the agile solutions that are enabling that work. And so as we look at that, we basically define the strategy within the portfolio itself, and then we create epics and approve those epics and relate the work being done in the agile environment to those epics within PPM, and then we can monitor the progress of those epics as we go through this. And so the first step is, and I'll walk through this in detail, but the ability to come in within a portfolio itself and define a set of epics associated with that portfolio. And that portfolio within PPM is your traditional portfolio of projects and proposals and programs that have a set of contents, but they can also have, these are the epics that are being addressed via this portfolio view. And then you approve the epics, so you do have some status levels within PPM of, submitted, in implementation, approved, closed. And you can see down here the Agile project and the related epics that are being driven. And you can also see that this one is one that's in Jira, and these two are in ALM Octane. And so you have the ability in that mixed mode environment to be able to visualize the status of those epics and the progress of those epics across multiple Agile solutions. When you relate the epics, once again, you just get the details associated with it and the overall progress. And this is the step-by-step of relating those epics and choosing it. So I won't run through that in a lot of detail. And this shows the two examples of Jira and ALM Octane, but there are also out-of-the-box capabilities for version 1, Agile Manager, and Rally, I believe, and all of those are available via GitHub to be able to get those integrations and to even extend those integrations through the Agile framework. And then this is one last screenshot of monitoring the epic status and seeing what's happening within the Agile solution. And then finally, the synchronization of Agile data to Agile project portlets. And this is a one-time setup where you bring in a set of defined Agile portlets, and then you're able to visualize several portlets of data within PPM. In this case, it's defects by feature and status, and this is coming real time from the ALM solution. So with that, I'll actually go ahead and do a quick demo of the capabilities, and I'll set up where sort of I am. So I have a ALM Octane instance that I've set up, and I'm in the default workspace. And so the first thing I'll cover is how do we set up that integration within the PPM solution. And so I'm going to go into, sorry, I went to the wrong one, go into PPM. And if you go into Open Administration Integrations as an admin within PPM and go to the Enterprise Agile tab, you can see Agile Manager, Jira, Octane, Rally, and version 1. This is the one I set up for the Octane, and this is actually the screenshot I showed, but it is as simple as coming in and adding that instance, clicking on Add, naming the instance, giving it a base URL, and then your client ID and client password will actually configure that Octane instance to support all of these integrations. So literally a 5-minute setup to be able to enable the integration between ALM Octane and PPM and those integration points. The second capability was the ability to map PPM projects to Agile tasks, and that's done similarly within the work plan. And so this is actually the task that I mapped. And if you open up the task, you can see this hybrid project link, and it shows you the space that it's mapped to, the default workspace, the release, and when the map was running. And it actually gives you a synchronization status, and the synchronization is running right now. Now, this is synchronized via an Agile data service. So it's a service that's scheduled to run so that you can synchronize the data between the two. You can see it just completed and it's successful, but the task status is not consistent. So if we go back and look at the work plan itself, it's bringing over this sprint from Agile, from ALM Octane, and all of these user stories. And as we progress the user stories within Octane, those statuses will come across into the work plan here. So you can see the individual user stories as they're being executed within ALM Octane. And you can see this is a huge project with lots of data in it that I synchronize. But that's fundamentally how you synchronize, and you can do that at any level within the work plan. If I wanted to come into planning and map something there, it's as simple as saying I want to start mapping against my Octane instance, and I choose the space, the workspace, and the associated release. All of these are coming from ALM Octane. And at that point, I submit it, and it will actually map that task now. And the next time that the synchronization runs, we will have that same structure represented under the planning task within the work plan. So you'll see the same structure come into the work plan. So very detailed visibility if you want it within the work plan in PPM. The next step is on timesheets. So if I were to go to ALM as an example and go to my work within ALM Octane, and I have a task here called research. So let me just open up this task. And if I invested, 4 hours within that task, and there's 7 hours remaining, and if I go ahead and save that, when I come into PPM, and this one might not show up, but another one for sure will. When I come into PPM, and we would recommend that you do this on a weekly basis per project that you've mapped, you basically come into PPM, and there's a new capability added where you can add external data, and you can choose the instance. So I'm going to choose my Octane instance. I have to give it a username and password. And what this will do is go out and pull all of the data and summarize it by day for the work that was logged within ALM Octane against a particular project. And when you submit that, it will actually bring in this and then associate it with the project within PPM and capture the costs associated with that work. So these 9 hours were a combination of 4 hours I logged earlier this morning and the hours that I just logged, or the work that I just logged in that creation today. So once again, I think as a best practice, you would do this on a weekly or whatever your timesheet period is, and bring it in for those projects that you have executing within the Agile solutions, whether it's Octane or Jira or whatever. And then the final place I'm going to cover off here quickly, and then we'll open it up to Q&A, is the ability to see the ALM data, the ALM Octane data within PPM. And there are actually, I think, 6 portlets that come with release 941 or 942 that allow you to very simply import portlets. And so this one is defect by feature and status. And then you can see all of the features that are in a particular ALM release, and you can see the defects and status. And I'll just show you on one of these the actual reference, the preferences. So in this case, it's to once again get a list of all of your instances that are available with mapped data. So I chose RP Octane, and I chose the AOS release, and then it'll bring that data in to those portlets. Similar, we have just a defect list portlet, And these are defects that don't exist in PPM. They only exist in ALM Octane. Same thing with a list of epics and their associated progress, the aggregate points for the features, the number of features in a particular release, Agile projects, the user story list, the cost per feature. And so this is based on aggregating the story points and applying a cost associated with those story points. And then this is just a feature listing with the amount of user stories, its progress, and amount of defects. So those are the key capabilities within that integration and how you set those up